Hey guys, Poppacker here today, all aboard the hype train. Today we're going to be talking about the deep web, Marianas web, spider webs, and a couple of other things. But seriously though guys, today this video comes out due to all the misinformation about the deep web that you find in YouTube videos and across the internet. So out of curiosity, I decided to do some research, and if not, every single YouTuber has absolutely no idea what they're talking about when they make a deep web video. And due to that, it becomes so confusing and makes absolutely no sense. And they just try to make it into a scary video. Alright guys, so before I start this video, go ahead, grab a calculator because this is going to be confusing. Grab a pillow because you're probably going to start crying. And let's start. Okay guys, so this morning started out like any other morning. I'm just browsing around YouTube looking for some My Little Pony videos, and I come across some deep web scary videos with some really scary thumbnails, and they're going to try to explain to me Mariana's web, Charlotte's web, whatever they're talking about. And you click the video and you start watching it, and the entire thing makes absolutely no sense at all. And guys, usually this is the point where you can tell that the YouTuber has absolutely no idea what they're talking about, yet they try to explain it to you. And their 15 minutes of research on Bing.com turns into an entire 3-hour webisode about how the deep net works and how the dark net works and how they know everything about it, and they're about to unlock all of its secrets to you guys. So in today's video, we're going to actually be talking about what the dark web is, what the deep web is, and how it actually works. Because everyone decides to try to make it sound like it has layers, and there's layers to the internet, and you have to hack your way through each one. And basically at this point, guys, people decide to say that the internet is one large onion, and Shrek is living in the bottom center in Mariana's web, and the entire internet is just one large onion. But guys, it's not actually that confusing, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to start off just like most other YouTube videos do, and we're going to talk about the surface web. So of course guys, let's go ahead, let's grab our little iceberg and let's start explaining how this thing works. So guys, about the iceberg thing, I'm sure I will 100% regret saying this, but the iceberg isn't actually that bad of an analogy. But the only issue with it is most people don't understand it, and then they try explaining it to others. So guys, if we take this little iceberg, I know some people have like 15 to like 75 steps in their iceberg, but this 3-step iceberg is probably the best way to explain it. Mostly just because this actually somewhat makes sense. Now when you take the 15-step ones and you start adding in like extra things saying hackers are trying to get from this layer to this layer, it doesn't make any sense. Now the best way to explain it is this 3-step thing: the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. Now I'm going to explain this one, and then we're going to move on to the next one, and I'm going to explain how it's wrong, and I'm going to explain how the internet actually works. So we start off at the very top at our surface web. The only thing that makes this one different from anything else, they're all on servers, they're all on computers. The only thing that makes it any different is this one is indexed. Basically guys, meaning that Google indexed it. Someone decided to tell Google that this is my website, I would like it listed on Google, or Google has their own web crawlers where they're literally just searching for things to put on it. Or someone decided to tell Bing 3 years after the website came out, Bing decided to list it. Now it's up to like 54 web pages listed on Bing. And so basically guys, it's just saying that it's listed on a search index, meaning it's listed on a search index somewhere. There's no different. It's not on like some server that's sitting on top of all of these other servers. It's literally just been indexed. That's the only thing it means, is that Google knows that it exists. Alright guys, so let's go ahead, take this conspiracy theory one step further and move on to the deep web, which even in this image now I notice it is slightly misinformed as well. So when we move from the surface web to the deep web, basically the only thing it means is that you need some type of password in order to access it. Meaning your Club Penguin account, deep web. Your My Little Pony MySpace, deep web. Anything that requires a password for you to access is considered deep web. Now the deep web isn't scary, there's absolutely nothing crazy about it. All it is anything that requires a password. Meaning like if a company has super secret stuff that they want to keep on their website or on a server, they're not going to just keep it on their main website on their homepage saying this is our trade secret. Guys, this is the secret behind how we made the Webkin stuffed animal. No, they're going to put it behind a little password. It's going to be like star My Little Pony 6917, something like that. But the moral of the story is anything on the deep web literally just has a password. That's all it means, is that you need a password to access it. There's absolutely nothing else. Now, many people do illegal things behind passwords instead of just sharing it openly on the internet. So that's literally the only way that the deep web comes into play at all. So guys, this is where most of the misinformation happens, is on the deep web. Most people think that it's some kind of like crazy server that you have to hack your way into, and they misinform other people and rumors spread, and it basically just becomes big hoaxes. The only thing the deep web is anything that requires a password. Please don't go around telling people that this is like some super high-tech security stuff. This is like a completely separate internet, disconnected from the rest of the internet. The entire internet, the surface web, the deep web, the dark web, is all literally just one thing. It just, the way you access it in different places is slightly different, but the entire internet works exactly the same. There's no main surface web internet, and then there's literally one Ethernet cord plugged into the dark web, and then one going back to the deep web. It's all literally, everything is hooked up exactly the same hardware wise. Now there's like different software in order to access different parts of it, which is your password, or when we get into the dark web you need to have a special browser in order to reach it, just because it's not able to be accessed from a traditional browser just because of the way it's set up. Now guys, let's go ahead, let's get into the dark web. This is where we get our conspiracy theories from, this is where we get our mystery boxes from, but it's not actually what people try to say it is. All those deep web, dark web, mystery box opening videos, there's nothing crazy about them. Most of them aren't real, just like the videos themselves. The dark web is literally just anything that requires special software in order to access. So basically here we're talking about Tor. Tor is an internet browser that lets you access .onion sites anonymously, and other things. Amongst other things, you can also access the surface web anonymously. Just because the way it works, it routes your IP address through several other IP addresses, and then it comes out at the end. This is where most misinformation is. Now, most illegal activities you'd obviously want to have on the quote-unquote dark web, just because it's all more anonymous, it's all more untraced. But at the end of the day, it's the exact same thing as the surface web, just accessed in a slightly different way. Literally all of the internet is the exact same thing, it's just how you access it. And if you don't believe me, you can go do a little bit of research for yourself. You can go on Amazon, you can go on eBay, and you can look up servers. Now, you're not going to see a specific server that says surface web or deep web server or dark web server. Obviously, if someone were to list something saying dark web server, they would obviously charge more money for it, and that makes sense, except for the fact that all servers are exactly the same. All of them connect to the internet exactly the same, and there's absolutely no difference between any of them except for the software you put on it. Now, if you were to make a forums website where anyone can go on it, anyone can post anything they want, you don't need to make an account, it would be surface web. If you require them to have a password to access it, it'd be deep web. If you were to make them have some kind of special software on their computer to where you can't access it through an internet browser, then guys, I'm going to give you a little hint. It's not the two that we mentioned before, it's going to be the one right under them. That's right guys, if you guys can get this riddle correct, you guys will get, I will mail you guys each 100 mystery boxes from the deep web. And that's right guys, not from the dark web, from the deep web, if you guys can get this answer correct. So if you guys know the answer to this, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section, because it's a real doozy guys. If you need software to access it, I'm sure most of you guys won't get this one right, but if you guys can get it right, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section, and yeah. Alright guys, now before we get into the 8-level iceberg, the one that everyone tries to explain, tries to tell you there's AI in the very bottom of it, in the furthest corner of the internet, let's take it baby steps, let's take it wheelchair going up an escalator, and let me just explain to you guys how the internet actually works. We'll take it step by step the entire way, so that way you guys can be better informed when I try to explain exactly why this other 8-level iceberg is wrong, and then you guys on your own will be able to figure out all the misinformation in other people's YouTube videos. Now that's crazy because there's no information in this video, it's mostly just in other YouTube videos. And guys, to be honest with you, unlike my father, and I'm sure many of your guys is because you're just sitting on your phone all day watching YouTube videos, if you guys can get this, I will be proud of you. I will individually tell you guys I am proud of you. If you guys let me know down in the comment section that you got this and you understand it, I will then comment saying, I am so proud of you, son. You've done perfect. You've honored your family. But guys, now let's get into this mess. Let's try to explain it. So let's start all the way over here on the right where it says iPhone, laptop, computer, smartphone. We're just going to pretend that that smartphone is an Android and the iPhone is an iPhone and the laptop is your laptop. So everybody is sitting on one of these three things, or if we go over to the middle, you're sitting on a desktop computer. Now most of you guys probably aren't on a desktop right now just because most people tend to lean towards the other three. So let's just go ahead and explain it from those, and we'll work our way up to the internet and explain how computers and how the entire internet actually works. That's right guys, how the internet works in 5 minutes by Papa Hacker, because that's probably about how long this is going to take. So guys, you're sitting on your laptop right now, you're sitting on your iPhone, and you're connected to Wi-Fi. You guys usually have about 2 boxes in your house that are for the internet. If you don't believe me, go ahead, pause this video, go check the boxes. You'll probably count 2 of them. Now usually the router and the Wi-Fi are both one single box, and then we have that box connected to our modem, and then the modem connects into the wall. So guys, we have our iPhone and we're connected to Wi-Fi, and then the Wi-Fi / router, because it's usually one box, routes our internet to the modem and then to the rest of the internet. We'll get to all that in a second. I know it's really confusing, the router's on fire, but guys, let's take it step by step. Okay, so your iPhone wirelessly connects to the Wi-Fi / router box, and then our Wi-Fi / router box using an Ethernet cord is then plugged into our modem. Then our modem, using one of those really old cables that you use to hook the TV up to the wall so that way you can watch TV. Now, if you don't believe me, go ask your parents about this. They'll say the same thing, that you used to have to connect the TV using this weird cable to the wall, and that's how you get TV. But that's the exact same cable that our modem uses to connect to the internet. But the internet, guys, it's not just some strange, mysterious cloud off in the far left-hand corner. All it is that cable then goes underneath of your house and underneath the street and goes all the way to whoever cable company you have or internet company you have, which is usually either Spectrum, Bright House, Frontier, something like that. If you guys want more information, ask your parents to see the cable bill, and they'll probably start complaining why you don't pay for it yet you want to see it. But it's usually one of those companies, and the cable goes all the way up, it goes through their front door, and it connects to a modem. It connects to their modem, and then their modem is then connected to a router, which then has to decide which direction it goes in. It goes into one of multiple directions, and then it goes to probably another cable company. And then from that cable company is where we connect back down through this in a separate direction, and this will explain how the internet works. So after the cable company, whether it's connected to one of them or multiple of them, is still technically considered the internet. So whenever you want to access mylittlepony.com, your internet goes just like we explained, the internet, and then through the internet, let's say there's a building somewhere that has My Little Pony headquarters labeled on the front of it. Their internet cable provider will then take all the internet that's supposed to go to their website, and it'll come back down, it'll go through their modem, just like what you have, just theirs is probably slightly bigger. Then it will go down to their router, which is just like yours, just slightly bigger and probably not on fire. And it will come down to a thing called a switch, which is on the left hand side of this image. Now, it's not a Nintendo Switch, although the same people who make Nintendo Switches in their little sweatshops probably make this same type of Switch. And then it comes down from this switch to a server, which this server looks like a desktop computer, although it's not. I can assure you it's much bigger than that. And it's what has their website on it. It has all their saved information on it, and it's what allows you to access that website. And just like all of the other deep webs and the dark webs, it works exactly the same. The only difference is when you try to go on that website, it'll require a password of some kind, or it will require some type of special software. And all of the internet works exactly the same, and it's connected in the exact same way. The only difference is the software that's on it. Now, I'm sure that probably makes sense to most of you guys, although honestly it probably doesn't, because I checked my video analytics and most of my viewers are between the ages of 8 and 12. So if you guys don't understand this and you're just watching the video for the gameplay and you guys just want to hear my voice and my little whispers from time to time, and you guys aren't getting any of this and you guys are just nodding and smiling the whole time, that's great too. That's absolutely perfect. And if you guys just want to watch the next part of this video and you guys just want to sit there and smile and nod the whole time, that's perfect too. But for those of you guys who do understand it, let's go ahead, let's move on to the 8-level iceberg analogy, and let's go ahead and let's explain what the Marianas web is, and how it just makes so much sense. Just how the whole thing just comes together and makes sense. And now guys, I think you're ready for the 8-level iceberg, where I explain how the whole thing just comes together and just makes so much sense. And the way that other people explain it just makes it sound absolutely perfect. The way the internet works, the way there's AI at the bottom of it, there's hackers fighting for everything. And the bottom layer is Marianas web, where the AI lives, and Skynet's going to attack us, and that's where where if anyone gets it, that they'll have control of the entire internet, because that's how the internet works. If one person gets to level 8 Marianas web, they'll have access to the entire internet along with a new AI best friend, just like the movie Her, where he falls in love with his AI girlfriend that lives on his phone. But guys, let's go ahead. If I ruined the movie for you now, I'm sorry, but there's a lot more to the movie. That's literally just the opening 10 minutes. But guys, let's go ahead. Let's explain what Marianas web is, and let's explain how the different layers don't make any sense. And let's get to it, guys. Alright guys, now just like the other picture, we're going to go ahead and start off at the very top, level 0, the web everything. So this is kind of confusing because it's not really completely correct. Where it says effectively everything, it should just say anything indexed by popular search engines. That's basically all it should say, is anything indexed by popular search engines. So saying effectively everything doesn't really make any sense. But let's go ahead, let's go to level 1, the surface web. Now, level 1, the surface web, it depends how you want to look at it here. This could be anything that requires a password in order to access, which is what it should say, anything that requires a password to access. And then we're going to go ahead and move down to level 2. So guys, effectively level 2 should say anything that requires special software in order to get into. But I can tell from this picture they've kind of messed up on that. And the way they have it set up in this picture is anything that requires a password is still on this level of the internet. Anything that requires a password in order to access is still part of level 2 according to this picture, although they have it kind of set up weird. So steps 1 and 2 is anything that needs a password. Step 0 is anything that's open to the complete internet. So after step 2, this is where it gets into anything that requires special software. That's the only difference between level 2 and level 3, is anything that requires specific software. So they decided to break up levels 1 and 2 into two completely different things, although in reality they're both the exact same thing. Level 1, according to this picture, is anything that requires a password that is legal. Level 2 is anything that requires a password that's kind of borderline illegal-ish, because some of the stuff on this isn't necessarily illegal, although most of this, if you know what any of the stuff is illegal. So we're going to go ahead and break it down like that. Level 0 is everything. Level 1 is anything that requires a password that's legal. Level 2 is anything that requires a password that is illegal. But guys, let's go ahead, let's move on to level 3. This is where things start getting spicy. This is where anything requires a special type of software in order to be able to access, mostly so that way you can protect your own privacy. Alright guys, so now here we are getting into spicier sections of the deep web. So level 3, the deep web, is anything that requires special software in order to access. Now this is where things get most misinformed and miscommunicated when it comes to the internet. Level 3 is basically just anything that requires special software to access. So we can basically throw half of the stuff on this list out as scary by any means, because technically any game that you download through Steam, i.e. virtual reality games or other things like that, deep web. Any type of game that requires you to download in order to be able to access it, deep web. All the illegal things that are on this list because they're hosted through things that require you to download Tor, so that's deep web. As far as a few other things on here, like mathematics research, if it requires you to download some type of software in order to do it, deep web. The calculator you downloaded from Google, deep web. Things like that are just completely misinformed. The entire purpose of level 3 is just anything that requires you to download special software. So if you need to download some type of special software in order to access a specific game, specific topics, a forums website that for some reason isn't hosted on the internet, it's hosted using different kind of software, deep web. So there we have it guys, the first layer where everything decides to get mixed up and people decide to say how crazy things are when it's not really there, is level 3, the deep web. So if you guys watch a deep web opening video, it's not necessarily, even if it was 100% they did order it from the deep web, them explaining to you what the deep web is, or different videos of people trying to explain what the deep web is completely misinformed the whole way through. The deep web is nothing scary, it's nothing specific, there's no completely another layer to the internet. It's just anything through the internet that requires you to download some type of special software in order to access it. So in reality, the deep web isn't some hidden layer underneath the internet. It is somewhat hidden just because you need some type of special software to access it, but it's not hidden by the means people try to skew and explain that it is. Alright, and for the next cluster, we're going to have Tor required after this point. So basically, anything that requires some type of special software is still on this part of the internet, along with level 4. Anything that requires specific software to access. The whole point of it saying Tor-like services required after this point kind of confuses you and makes you think that it's some kind of level underneath the one that you're on before, but it's really not that scary. It's still the exact same part of the exact same internet. Literally the only thing that any of this is it requires the exact same thing, special software to access this point. So really the entire bottom 5 things that they have on here should all just be the exact same thing. They all just require different types of software in order to access. The only thing is they decided to break it up into different sections, which the sections should be next to each other instead of underneath each other. All of these sections should be sitting directly next to each other. They can be broken up into different categories, legal and illegal, kind of like what they have on here, basically breaking it up into legal things and then illegal things. The only difference is it should be next to each other. They shouldn't try to explain it as some level underneath of another level, because as you can see here, level 4, most of this stuff is all illegal stuff, although I can point out a couple of things that aren't, like corporate exchange, billion-dollar deals, personal videos. None of this stuff is really illegal, but they decided to throw it into this section. All of this should be one section next to each other, not broken up into 5 different sections, kind of like they did here. So let's go ahead, let's move another level down, let's move to level 5. So guys, right after level 4, it says closed shell system required after this point. It basically means anything on this level is not connected to the majority of, it's not connected to the internet. It's not connected to the internet in any way. It's basically just someone's private network or a company's private network that isn't connected to the internet. Now, this is kind of like the most misinformed part of the entire thing. because anything halfway through level 4 and 5 on this part is just not connected to the rest of the internet. So if you take your own router at your house, you unplug it from your modem, and you plug it from one Xbox into another Xbox, that's a closed shell system. You can play together, but you can't play with the rest of the internet. So that's anything on this level, which we have to explain that, and then we'll explain the next couple of steps before we can hit level 5. And here we have it, guys, the last couple of parts that you guys need to understand before you have full access to Marianas Web and everything else that exists on the internet. So basically it says here 80% of the internet exists below this line. Another one, people can't bother to read, understand that it's not 80% by volume, it's 80% by concentration, meaning that most of the internet is below this line. So basically what we're going to take from this, guys, is this is basically just a big jumble of nonsense, even though the statistic can be somewhat right. Saying that 80% of the internet lives below this line is basically saying 80% of data recorded on servers is not accessible through the internet because it's not in any way connected to the internet. So this should be a completely separate graph because it has nothing to do with the actual internet. A big portion of this is just things that are stored not on the internet. So most companies research, they obviously don't want to store it on the regular internet because it could be accessed by anyone if they were to hack into it. If you physically unplug it from the rest of the internet, people can't hack into it and have access to it, which is pretty smart because most things are getting hacked these days. So in other words, it's basically just like explaining that you're on your computer, you're surfing for My Little Pony on YouTube, and you download a virus. Now the best way to get rid of that virus, or at least temporarily stop it, is just unplug your computer from the internet. So your computer being unplugged from the internet is exactly the same as servers that are not hooked up to the internet. And then, guys, underneath of that, which should be on this separate graph that we just talked about, is any type of server that requires a password in order to access. And normally it's some type of like number that's an equation is the answer to it. So that way it can't just be accessed with a regular password like the one that I have to my Club Penguin account. It's going to be some type of long fraction, and the answer to it is going to be really difficult. So that way if anyone does have access to it, they're not able to just type in a password and figure out what it is. Alright guys, you've made it. You've watched through this far of the video, and you guys are finally ready for it. Level 5 of the deep dark web, Marianas Web. Now if you guys are watching this video, I'm sure you guys have already heard about it. You already know that Marianas Web exists, but you don't know what actually exists on it. Now the reason you don't know what exists on it is because it doesn't actually exist. That's right, guys, I'm sorry to burst your bubbles, but Marianas Web isn't a real thing. There's actually nothing behind it that's even remotely how the internet works. There's absolutely nothing behind it that's actually how the internet works. And what some people like to say is this is the darkest part of the internet. This is a server that's located underground. This is where AI lives. This is where the key to the entire internet lives. And if you have access to this key, you have access to the rest of the internet, and people are trying to hack their way into this so that way they can get access to the rest of the internet. And guys, I'm sorry to say, just like everything in this video that led up to this point, everything about the Marianas Web is just complete nonsense and isn't real at all. So if you guys watch a video and they sit there and they explain to you what Marianas Web is, it's complete nonsense. It doesn't actually exist because that's not how the internet works. And you can kind of come up with a thing saying that Marianas Web is anything that's AI or that amount of intelligence that's located on a server that's not connected to the internet behind a password if you want to, but that's not really how people try to sit there and explain how all this stuff works. And if you're one of the people who made one of these graphs and want to try to explain how the internet works, you should really know everything that you want to label before you just start making up levels and then filling it in with nonsense or filling it in with theories. You should decide everything you want to put into a graph, have all the information in front of you, and then sit down and come up with different levels and different sections and things like that. But most people don't go that route. They just come up with levels and decide to fill it in with nonsense that interests other people and try to make up different theories. People sit there and they make up different random things, and that's just not how the internet works. And if you guys understand that, then you can realize that when most people talk about Mariana's web and the deep web and the dark web in different videos, you can actually understand what they're trying to explain and see that none of what they're saying actually makes any sense at all. And none of it's backed up by any research. All they did was go on Google and they looked up top 10 scariest things on the deep web and decided to try to turn that into an entire video where they really don't understand what they're talking about, and they sit there and explain the entire time, and none of it's really right at all. But they decided to turn it into a huge video and people watch it and they get views. But guys, you are smarter than that. You guys watch this entire video and actually understand how the internet works and the different layers behind it, and why some of this stuff shouldn't even be on the same graph. And if it is on the same graph, it should be next to the regular internet, not below it, because it doesn't actually exist below it. Nothing really exists below anything else besides the fact that it requires passwords or software. So if you guys watched this entire video and you did enjoy it, please go ahead, hit that like button. Let me know in the comment section why you watched the entire video, because I'm not really even sure why I sat and watched this entire thing. But if you did enjoy it, please go ahead, let me know. And if for some reason you watched this entire video and you're a Minecraft Let's Player and you just put out a really long dark web, deep web, mystery box Minecraft opening, and you guys really didn't like this video and you guys just can't sit down and you're frustrated and you're furious, please go ahead, hit the dislike button. Let me know in the comment section why you hit the dislike button, and I will send you one of those little cushions that you set on the chair, and it has like the hole in the middle, so that way it doesn't really hurt so bad when you sit back down. Because just like you guys, I'm a YouTuber as well. I just try to make videos on topics that I enjoy making topics about, just like you do. And if you guys did enjoy this video and you guys want more videos like this, please go ahead, subscribe to my channel, let me know why you subscribed, and as always guys, have a great day.